The 18-year-old virgin and the 60-year-old Florida man. And the role her parents play in this story, stay tuned.
Hello everybody! Welcome back to the new episode of Fly Me to the Philippines. From our home here in Cagayan de Oro City, overlooking the Cagayan de Oro River.
Welcome back to another episode, Chrissy, of Expat Diaries, Episode 2.
Yeah, I think you got really a very interesting story to be told today, so...
You know, last time, Chrissy, we told the story about a woman who got over $5,000 from an expat, and she turned out to be 16 years old on Christian Filipina dating site. Today, the 18-year-old virgin and the 60-year-old Florida man. Lots to tell. Stay tuned. Age gap relationships, it happens all over the world.
Yes, I know a lot of big actresses here in the Philippines that having this huge age gap relationship. And they are not poor Filipinas like what you usually think, that Filipinas will deal with age gap relationship because of the poverty or some situation.
Right.
They are not. They are doing well. They are actresses, but love really works in mysterious way.
Well, there's some famous age gap relationships from the West. Charlie Chaplin had a 37-year age gap relationship.
Really?
He married an 18-year-old. That was the most famous age gap relationship of the early days of Hollywood. Robert De Niro, we're going to talk about that. Stay tuned. We're going to tell you about some other famous actors and actresses.
Celine Dion.
And Celine Dion, she claims that her first date with her childhood manager was at 19.
Yes.
That was a 27-year age gap relationship. It lasted a 21-year marriage until he passed away. But stay tuned. We're going to share with you the largest age gap relationship ever recorded. And we're going to tell you about how age gap relationships used to work in the past.
Okay, so Rob, to tell the story, let's start on who is the sender.
Yeah, so Gary is an American. He's age 60. He is separated, and he is going through the final...
Just separated?
Just separated. He says he's got a few more months to go before his divorce is final.
Okay.
He has a 24-year-old son and a 16-year-old daughter. The ex-wife works with him in his business. It's a tourism business, a little bit seasonal, out of Florida. He went on Filipino Cupid for 2.5 to 3 months before traveling to the Philippines. He spent 6 weeks in the Philippines and had an amazing time. It involves an 18-year-old virgin and lots of other elements we want to share with you. So that's who Gary is, a Florida man, 60 years old, financially stable, and came back. He's been back about a month from a 6-week tour de force in the Philippines.
So the highlight of this story is he fell in love with an 18-year-old...
Fell in love with an 18-year-old virgin. And you know, Chrissy, we played cards last night. We had 6 expats in the house. And I previewed this story to my friends. All of them in age gap relationships. We have a 37-year age gap relationship. I just turned 68. You just turned 31. We met when I was 66 and you were 29. All of them are in age gap relationships ranging from 33 years to maybe 18 years.
So they had their different thoughts about it.
When I told them that this fella Gary hooked up with an 18-year-old, and I think the word teen is really what kind of like got everybody fired up. And I think some of the people watching, they're going to be like, what the heck?
Yes.
Teen, the thing about a teen, and then the role her parents play in this story, stay tuned. But, you know, of all the people that you would think would not label or judge, their initial reaction of our friends was very, very negative.
I think it will be the same of our reaction when we heard the story. Tell us about the very first thing that happened with Gary in the Philippines.
So Gary had been online for 2.5 months, Filipino Cupid, and he did what all men plan to do. He lined up some prospects in different cities. And I've said this before, guys think, oh, I'm going to have like 4 women. I'm going to go see the first one, the second one, the third one. I'll circle back to the winner and declare his love for the winner. But it never really works out. Eventually, they sort of really have strong feelings for one in particular, or the first woman that they meet calls BS and says, I'm out of here if you leave, because they know where is he going? He's not really going to swim with the whale sharks. He's going to see another woman.
He's going to swim some
He's going to swim something else. So Gary, I was really surprised. He said he had about 9 prospects lined up. And his number one prospect was a 47-year-old in a similar tourism-related business. And there was a potential for them to do some entrepreneur collaboration. He really had strong feelings for. He wasn't looking for an 18-year-old. And he flew to Manila. She met him at the airport, and they spent 5 days in Manila. And he was really torn because he liked her. She was really pleasant, and everything was really positive about that experience. But he had lined up these other prospects.
Yes.
And yeah.
So I think it's because it's his first meetup. So I think he feel like he's into her because it's just the first. He can't compare it with others yet. But maybe did he continue meeting the other?
Yeah, it was the first time he ever dated an Asian woman. And he got to know the first woman quite well, and she was all in. But I've said this before, if you've never dated an Asian woman, the first time you might lose all your senses. You might not really be in a sift, sort, and condense mode.
You will feel like this is it.
This is amazing. They're more youthful, and they just have certain attributes that you're looking for. But he just was torn, and he decided, no, he's going to stay with his plan and pursue to meet some of these other women. And then he would know whether he really loved the first woman or whether this woman was that special. So he looked at the map and he said, well, who's the farthest away from Manila, where his return flight would go back from Manila? Palawan, Puerto Princesa, the major airport on Palawan.
So that was the place that is farthest.
That's the reason he went to the second girl. She was the farthest, and he would work his way back to Manila.
Back to Manila, okay.
And she was 18 and a virgin, had never had a boyfriend.
Was he aware?
He was aware because they had video chatted. All these women, he did everything right. He video chatted. I don't know how he juggled up the 9 prospects without everybody calling BS on him, but he did.
So at the very first place, when he knew that she was 18 and virgin, he did not exclude her to the list. He still included her.
I think he was not serious about her, but he was. It was interesting. He chatted her, and the chats went well. And every time he spoke to her, the chat went well, and she presented herself well, and she was really interested in him. So he kind of he played along, but he was never really serious. She was never his first, second, or third prospect. Yeah, but she was farthest away, so he went to see her next.
Okay, so they met.
They met, and oh my God, as he describes it, the entire family of 14 plus the girl met him in the Puerto Princesa airport. They're rather poor. They rented a van. They met him in the air. Now, he didn't even have a hotel room. He didn't have anything firmed up. He flew in early in the day. They met him, 14, and they had rented a van. And they lived an hour and a half north of Puerto Princesa towards Port Barton. And he jumped in the van. They were so proud to meet him, and they wanted to show their humble house that they had, if you call it a house.
Yes.
And on the way, he stopped and he bought him Jollibee. And then they brought him to their home, and it was a province house with gaps in the walls. You could see outside, and tin roof, and very hot and stuffy. And he, paid for a meal to be delivered to the house, and he ended up paying for the van as well. And he had no idea this was going to happen. Not too surprising, actually.
Yeah, I think if the foreigner will come and visit the Filipina, you have to expect that the family will think that you will be the one to cover all the expenses of the travels and transportations and meals, and the place to stay.
Yeah, they didn't ask for it, but he just felt like, it wasn't a lot of money, and he just felt like he should pay for it.
So was he aware that he will be met by the whole clan?
Not a clue. And the other thing that's interesting is when he was in Manila, he said his phone was blowing up. These other 8 women, they were like, we know you're in the Philippines. Like, what are you doing? Why are you not video chatting us the way we used to get a half hour every morning or every evening? His phone was blowing up, and he didn't have time to stay in touch with. And the girl, the 18-year-old, was a little disturbed because she felt ghosted during those 5 days. And so he was shocked that her family would meet him because she had expressed to him she was very disappointed he had sort of disappeared.
Don't you think he just felt being trapped because of, he will feel like he will be obligated to be serious of the girl because she already brought all her family.
He thought he didn't. What he said was they were the nicest people. They never asked for any money. They were so gracious. And after they had the party at the family's house, the parents and one sister, they went to a resort on the coast, not too far from the family home, and they checked into a hotel for the night. And the one sister stayed in the one bed, and they slept in the other bed. And the parents, set it up.
So in one room, there's two beds.
There's two double beds, yes. And he, spent the night with the girl and cuddled up with her. There was no hanky-panky, but they cuddled up. And the next day, the parents came back with the van, and they picked them up, and they drove them into Port Barton, which is a beautiful kind of resort city on Palawan. And they put them... And he booked a resort for 3 nights.
Yes.
And the parents and the sister and everybody set him up in the hotel room, in the resort room, and wished him like a honeymoon and said, enjoy your time. And they all went back and returned the van, and they all went back to the girl's home and left them at the resort.
So by that act of the family, he felt like there is a permission from the parents that they can be together alone.
Like, he was welcome. The parents treated him like a future son-in-law. Nobody grilled him with any difficult questions. It was all super pleasant, terrific, nice people, employed. Nobody was like had their hand out. They were just stand-up people.
Actually, that for a Filipino family, that is like a scary thing to do. You cannot do that to your daughter because you're not sure if the man is. We know what kind of man he is.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, but for them,
but he's a pretty respectable looking guy. He's a businessman. He's well groomed, and he looks like a very trusting person.
Okay.
So, Chrissy, because of COVID, she's still in high school. She got delayed. She's only 18, had barely turned 18 a few months before he met her online. And she's like 18 and a half, but she's still in high school. So he's got a dilemma. She has to go 5 days a week to high school plus study for exams.
Yeah.
And what's he going to do? He thinks he's head over heels in love with the girl. Like, he didn't go forward because he's just...
Of meeting the other.
He thinks that he's having spent the weekend with her and having met her family. He's getting all these green light signals. He can't, how could this be? I thought it was just a lark to go check this out. And everything about it is coming up roses for him. And he's getting green light. There's no red flags. And he's falling in love with this girl. But she's got to go to school for 5 days.
Yes. So he was bored?
Well, he didn't want to sit around for 5 days. And, what you said is, don't put all your eggs in one basket. You're always telling our viewers, don't put all your eggs in one basket. And very few men follow through on that advice. Most shut it down. Shut it down. It's hard to leave. So, but he told her he was going to go tour the Philippines. And he went to Cebu City. And while he was in Cebu City, I'm sure he told her he was just hanging out and visiting other expats or whatever he was doing. The truth is, he decided not to put all his eggs in one basket, and he checked in with maybe his third best prospect.
Very risky.
Very risky. Hard to communicate back home. But she's in school, and and so he sees the other woman in Cebu City, and he tells the girl that, he's just out touring. And sure enough, the other woman doesn't get the green light signals. This 18-year-old is just overwhelmingly his favorite.
They met and
they dated. I think they probably did, but I don't have it on proof. I don't have the proof.
Okay.
And after 5 days...
What do you think? Do you think did they sleep together?
They probably did. But after 5 days in Cebu City, he returns to Puerto Princesa, Palawan, and goes back to her, and he visits the family. He goes back to the first hotel they stayed at, and he's in the province, and he's loving life. But she has to go back to school again.
Oh, by the way, did he and the 18-year-old woman slept together?
Yes, the first night at the resort.
Her virginity.
He did. Yeah.
You know what? Here in the Philippines, we as a woman, we tend to push to ourselves that the person that will take our virginity will be the one that you're gonna marry. Like, even if he's the wrong person, but he's the one who took your virginity, I'm just gonna say, I'm gonna marry him.
And you know, just as an aside, we're always telling people, look, if you're not if going to go forward, if you're not going to enter into a long-term relationship, don't meet the family. You know, I always recommend fly the girl into Cebu City, fly the girl into Makati, spend the weekend with the girl, and if it goes great and you have chemistry, okay, you need to meet the family because you can't travel with her without. A good girl's not going to travel around the Philippines or spend other than that first few days in a big city, they're not going to do it. So you have to meet, but don't meet the family unless you're really serious. Now, he didn't plan on meeting the family. They met him.
Was surprise.
Right. So he went back to Puerto Princesa. He, went to go see her. They spent a 3-day weekend together, and she went back to high school. And he then went back to Cebu City and saw a different girl in Cebu City and spent the week in Cebu City. He swam with the whale sharks. He did a few other things, right?
Yeah, for proof to the 18-year-old that he really did.
I guess, he wanted to make sure that he wasn't infatuated that her youth and her beauty. And he says,
to test himself.
And he says, and we have a photo of him and her. He's shared with us, but we can't share it online. We don't have her permission.
Yes.
He thinks she's the most beautiful woman he's ever seen in his entire life, is how he put it.
Well, because you're in love. Like me, I'm going to say you're the most handsome person in the entire world because I'm in love.
People can tell you in your glasses.
Once you're in love, you will be like a horse that has this... What do you call
blinders
that? Blinders. Yeah, you can't just see anything, but you give it a
And she sings karaoke like Chrissy. She knows all the pop culture. She can sing the Beatles. She knows all the movie actors. She knows who Brad Pitt is. She knows.
She's young.
And he finds that they have a fantastic friendship, but she's not like from Mars. Now she doesn't know much about world history and Napoleon, but she's really knowledgeable in pop culture, and she's got a tremendous voice, and she's super pleasant, and she won't let him go near the kitchen or anything. She just wants to take care of him. Old school, and he keeps getting these amazing. So he goes from the second trip in Cebu City, he goes back to see her for another weekend, and everything goes great again.
Don't tell me that he went again somewhere to
So
meet
at
another.
this point, he's pretty much, okay, he's done with his due diligence. He flies her to Boracay for a weekend.
Oh.
He's done, there's other women that he had
on the list.
Yeah, he had
but
got...
he just,
no, that's
I'm
it.
done, I'll stop
He's like,
here.
the first woman in Manila, this girl's better. This next 2 women in Cebu City didn't hold a candle to this girl. She's the prettiest woman on earth. She sings, she can chat, she takes care of him, she gives him massages. She's everything any man would ever dream of. He says, Rob, it's just like you and Chrissy. I can't believe my luck. Lottery is the key word that keeps popping in my head. I won the lottery.
He's lucky.
But for people like watching at home, a lot of people are going to go, wow, she's a teen. She's just a teen.
Yes. Of course, she's considered teen because she's just 18.
Right.
And I think teenager, even 20 and 21, their behavior still belongs to teenagers.
They're physically still developing.
Yes.
Chrissy, prior to 2022, the age of consent in the Philippines was 12 years old. They passed a law in 2022 and raised the age of consent to...
So just 2022?
Just 2020. They raised it to 16. So just to be clear, this man is not violating any laws, but there is another law that you can't get married without... If you're under the age of 22... 25. Okay, if you're under the age of 22, you cannot get married without your parents' consent. Between the age of 20 and 20, between the ages of 22 and 25, even though your parents refuse consent, you can petition and be married anyway. So before you're 25, you need your parents' consent. But if you're 22, you can appeal your parents' decision and still get married between 22 and 25. But before 22, you need your parents' consent to get married in the Philippines.
Yes, because I remember. Can I share this?
Yeah, sure.
I remember I got married when I was 26 and my partner was 23.
Yeah.
So he needed the parents,
Really?
but
Wow.
I don't need mine. So the parents were there in the municipal.
So you were dating a younger person.
Yes.
Chrissy, I think I want to make it really clear that we are, publishing a YouTube channel we were brought this expat story. And we tell, if you have a story, write flymetothephilippines at gmail.com and share your story with us and give us explicit permission, especially for any photos you want shared. And maybe we'll share it also. But we're not here to judge and we're not here to label. But the thing that I want to make crystal clear, this is not bashing the Philippines.
Yes.
We want to talk about age gap relationships in history, age gap relationships in the West. And we're going to tell you about the longest age gap relationship on record. And it didn't take place in the Philippines. In this day and age, the Philippines is known for being more accepting of some conventions that people in the West are not okay with, breaking these conventions. Mm-hmm. There's this rule I've talked about. It's half your age plus 7. So if you're 60 and you have a 37-year-old girlfriend, nobody's supposed to give you stink eye. You're supposed to be allowed into the White House or any country club. You've met the standard. And age gap relationships typically go beyond that. And Chrissy and I have a 37-year age gap relationship.
Yes.
And I think, one of the guys,
my father and his girlfriend, his girlfriend is younger than me.
Right. Your father's 51.
Yeah, my father's 51 and she's just 24.
When we met, you were 29.
Mm-hmm.
You had a 4-year-old back then. You were 2.5 years into a 3-year annulment process.
Yes.
Can you imagine, with our 37-year age gap, if you were 18 and I was 55, if we met, we could be together?
No, I don't think so. Because when I was 18, I would say I'm not really mature enough. And I don't even know about the relationship because I am a late bloomer. And I think I started to have boyfriends when I was like 19.
Yeah.
So by 18, I don't have the maturity to think about relationship, and especially with an age gap relationship.
And I have, my youngest child is older than Chrissy, a couple of years older than Chrissy. And when I was looking for Chrissy, I just wasn't looking for 18 or 22 or even 24 or 25. Maybe 27 I could have looked at. But I needed somebody that I could introduce to my children and integrate into my life.
Yes.
But we know, Chrissy, they do these sociology experiments. They take 100 men of every age and they show them pictures of women of every age. And no matter how many times they run the experiment, 22-year-old women is what men like. Mm-hmm. And they do the other way around. And women like 35-year-old men. They kind of look like they're mature and they maybe make money and they're still young. And so there's nothing to be ashamed of that men are attracted to 22-year-old women. It's just a biological fact of science. And women are attracted to 35-year-old men when they see pictures of men of all ages. That's what they seem to zero in on. So the fact that the man was attracted, and he wanted to point out one thing. He didn't contact her on Filipino Cupid. She contacted him.
Oh, she's the one who initiated.
She initiated the contact to him, and he was like, "What's this? This is silly." And he just thought it was silly, and he's just being playful and responded. And it turned out that it blossomed, and now he is planning to come back to the Philippines. He's got a tourist seasonal business. He's planning to transfer the assets and his business responsibility to his family members and train them. And he will be back this fall, and he plans to move here to the Philippines and start a life, and he's willing to have children.
So he's going to marry her?
I think so. He didn't come out and say it to me, actually. But, he's planning to start a family, starting to move here, and he's willing to have children.
Yeah, I think he will end up marrying her because the family also will be like, give a little push of him because she's 18, she was a virgin when he touched her. Yeah. And then, so she deserved marriage.
Yeah, but just like his dating approach, I think he'll probably want to live with her for a year before he ties the knot. Mm-hmm. But so that's... Now, let's talk some more. We promised to talk about some famous age gap relationships. Mm-hmm. And the one that I think most people are familiar with today is Celine Dion. Right? She was a child star. I don't remember exactly when her manager started to manage. I thought it was while she was
I think she was 12.
Yet so in her interviews, she stated when she was 19, they went on their first date.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's accurate, but that's what she said. Mm-hmm. And that's a 27-year age gap relationship. And they stayed married for 21 years. And he was her business manager also.
And they did not broke up or divorce.
No problem.
Yeah. It's just her husband died.
Right. Charlie Chaplin, when I was a child, people used to talk about Charlie Chaplin. He was 54 when he wed Una O'Neill, and she was 17. And they had a 37-year age gap relationship, and I believe they stayed together until he died. It was his third marriage. All three of his marriages were age gap marriages.
So
with
how
younger
many
women.
years is the age gap?
37 years. Charlie
just like
Chaplin.
us.
And Charlie Chaplin, if you don't know, was the biggest movie star on the planet during the silent film era.
Yeah, he's like the pantomime.
Pantomime, yes.
Yeah, pantomime performer.
Right.
Like, I watch him. Like, he's
And then,
funny.
you know, everybody's heard of Casablanca, Chrissy, the movie with Humphrey Bogart and the raving beauty Lauren Bacall. And Humphrey Bogart had been married before and had a reputation for being a little bit of a wife beater, and he had been, written about in the tabloids. And his former wife had accused him of being a wife beater. He fell in love with Lauren Bacall, and Humphrey Bogart was 45. I think he looked 60 or 55 because he had a really rough look, always a heavy shadow, and a cigarette smoker. And he was 45 and she was 20, and they stayed married for quite a long time. I think they stayed married till he died of lung cancer. And she was one of the most beautiful women on the planet. Amazing actress. Now, let's talk about some current day age gap relationships that you may have heard of. Al Pacino and Noor Al-Fala, an age gap relationship, Chrissy, of 54 years.
54 years?
54. I think Al Pacino is roughly...
54 years.
Al Pacino's 84. Well, so she's 30. If he's 84. Cher from Sonny and Cher, famous singer. She had been married to Sonny. He passed away in a ski accident, I believe. And she's with a man, Alexander Edwards, 40-year age gap. How old is Cher? She's 78, so that would make him 38 years old. So Cher is at age 78, is with a 38-year-old man. These are not Filipinos, by the way, and that's the point I wanted to make here. This is not about bashing the Philippines and saying the Philippines, you should come here and find an 18-year-old. I'm just trying to talk about the fact that this experience happened. He wasn't looking for it. He tried to find other women that could break the spell, and he couldn't. And now he says he's head over heels in love, and he wants to come spend his life. How could it be? How could this be? What are some other... Patrick Stewart and Sonny Ozell, 38 years. Rupert Murdoch, the owner of Fox News, he had been married to Jerry Hall, Mick Jagger's ex. He got married again at age 93 to Elena Zukova, 67, 77,
So he's 93.
Yeah, but it's only like a 27-year age gap. It's not too bad.
Yeah, but like in the age of 93.
Can you imagine?
If you're in the age of 93 and you will find a woman, will you still marry
I'm going to
her?
marry a hospital bed at 93. So now we want to talk about the largest age gap ever recorded in history.
Okay.
Ready? And it's not a Filipino. It's not a Westerner with a Filipino, Chrissy.
So we're okay.
Yeah.
We're good.
And, I wanted to mention, from 1895 to 1910, there's an article that women should marry a man roughly 10 years older so that he can become established in business and have enough income to, own a home and maybe hire a few servants to help the woman out. It was highly recommended, a 10-year age gap for young society women in the early 1900s in America. But the largest age gap of all time is a Civil War veteran. Check this out, people. She was 18 when she married John Janeway.
How old is he?
Civil War ended in 1865.
How old is he?
He was 81. So
81.
if you do the math,
And she's 80.
63-year age gap in America, not the Philippines. So we don't want to have people think that we're talking about the Philippines. This is
It's a worldwide age gap issue.
Medieval times and in previous times, the landed gentry and the wealthy. There's lots and lots of cases where older, wealthy men married very, very young women. And the record was set by two Americans. So, Chrissy, we're back. We're back here in Cagayan de Oro.
Yeah.
We've been on the road. We went to Iloilo. And we have been to Makati, Baguio, and Cebu City. Chrissy, we found a place in Cebu City that is like sort of an ideal place for an expat to settle in and set up shop if he hasn't met anybody before he gets here. So our next video, we're going to tell you all about our travels. We brought.
We're going to make a review.
We're going to review, and we're going to tell you more about Makati and our experiences. We're going to show you more about Baguio, because we didn't really talk up the parks and the beauty of Baguio.
Yes.
And then we're going to talk to you about the opportunity in Cebu City to set yourself right in the middle of all the call centers and find a $40 a night condo that is just an ideal location. So that's going to come to you soon. And then we have some visitors coming. We have some of our consulting clients coming to town, and we're going to go back up into the Bukidnon Mountains.
Yes.
And experience some of those wild waterfalls and the beautiful communal ranch again. And that's coming soon, and we're looking forward to it. If you're interested in consultation, it's like having an older brother and a younger sister in the Philippines. You have something you need to talk about. We offer personalized consultation. Just email us at
flymetothephilippines@gmail.com.
Till next time.
From Fly Me to the Philippines, see you on our next video.